there? Can you hear me, Ben?
Yep.
Okay, all right. So since I'm physically here, I thought I would just engage in the work session if that works for you, Ben.
Please. In fact, if you'd like to do them from here on out, I'd love that.
All right, we'll begin the work session in the Commissioner Conference Room here. We'll note that the meeting will be recorded. And so the first item on the agenda is the public hearing. We have in our packet an agenda for that public hearing on Wednesday at noon. 2 items there: rezoning request for Lindell Resources, and then request for proposals for the fiscal year 2022 Community Block Grant Program. I don't see anybody here from planning and zoning. So I just wanted to mention that those are the 2 items that are on the agenda for Wednesday's public hearing. Or is there any public comment? Okay, well, nothing's there. New items. We have the first item on the work session is the Riverfront Development Review. There are quite a few people here this morning. And so for your benefit, Commissioner Eggleston, or Commissioner Kaplan, could you, Commissioner Eggleston, just go around the room and each say your name so Ben knows who's in the room?
It's me, Ben.
Nathaniel Schmidt, County Solicitor.
Exactly.
Phil Gilbert, Tax Plan, City.
Jim Decker.
Mayor Dave Wortman.
Pam Atby.
Lisa Hackberg.
Chad Yorsick, City of Warren.
Mike Holtz. Josh Cotton. Randy Rossi.
All right. So I guess I'll turn it over to whomever is going to present the Riverfront Development Review.
I guess I'll start, and I just wanted to thank you for taking the time to listen to this really exciting project. I'm going to turn it over here in a minute to Jim Decker and Chad and Mike and Randy and Phil. Can offer up conversation points as well and discussion. But as you know, it's a multi-agency, multi-governmental funded project that we think is going to have a tremendous impact on the city of Warren and therefore the county of Warren as well. We're very excited about it. We're obviously going after federal funds, but at this point, the city government has committed a significant amount of money to the project, as well as the state of Pennsylvania. And we're here to follow up, I think, on a conversation that happened in the early fall, to just kind of give you an update on where the project is financially, because there's been some significant activity, and then there's been some feedback based on the application that was submitted, and we'd like to share that information with the county commissioners. And the short of it is that we're still looking for the county commissioner support as well as part of this project. And again, we're just really thankful for you all to take the time and listen to our project, and hopefully we can move forward together on this one. So.
Thank you, Dave. And I think everybody's aware of the overall details of this project, but to summarize things in the package that we have in front of you, thanks to Jeff, put together a really nice presentation consolidating this project as we move forward, continuing to look for as many pots of money and sources of revenue, not putting all our baskets in the Build Back Better regional challenge that we still hold out a lot of hope for in terms of funding. So we have reached out to Senator Casey through his office to see if, in fact, if we're not successful with the Build Back Better funding, that perhaps there would be another source of federal funding to replace that. So we have made several submissions on behalf of the city looking for the full, what the request is, $7.25 million. It would be matched by $2 million, which has been committed by the city, both in RCAP, Pennsylvania capital budget money, as well as city general funds, $1.5 million in state funds and $500,000 in city But just to remind you of what is involved and included in this project, the construction of a new boat ramp, a docking system associated with that would support just both powerboat usage as well as this canoe, kayak, non-motorized ADA access for folks to get on the river in those watercraft. A riverbank viewing and access area just to provide more connection between the community and the river itself. Significant realignment of Liberty Street, Clark Street, and Langdon Drives to improve the traffic flow through the area, significantly improving pedestrian flow and pedestrian safety, moving those through streets up against the parking garage as opposed to being down in the retail side closer to the riverfront, extending the Breeze Point River Lane walkway clear up to actually to the Tops parking lot along the Conowingo Creek, and also expanding the river wall in that area so that there would be seating along that whole pathway, improving the cart path as well to allow access behind the buildings and up against the river, and then construction of a bicycle pump track skills park on the property that is at the confluence of the Conowingo and the Allegheny. Undoubtedly, our biggest challenge, as everyone is well aware of, is our loss of population over the last 30 years, with really nothing terribly encouraging in forecast that trend is going to be reversed. It's absolutely critical that we do everything we can to stall the loss of population. And one of the best ways we can do that is to really make sure our communities are attractive and vital, and encourage folks to come in, both as residents and visitors, and that's the impetus behind this project. So you mentioned the total cost of the project is $9.25 million. As we were putting the package together, one of the things we did was reach out to local businesses throughout the Clark Street area as well as in other areas of the downtown, saying, here's our project, this is what we're looking to do. How might that impact you as your business and investments you might contemplate making? We did get in response to that 7 formal responses back with an estimation that they would be investing about $4.75 million over the next 3 years in their businesses as a result of this project. So in addition to what was calculated through the in-plan economic forecasting model, they're projecting that a total of $11.3 million would be inserted and could be generated into the local economy annually as a result of this project, just by highlighting and improving the overall aspects of the community itself and our ability to draw even more activity from a tourism and economic activity standpoint to the community. So it's significant to say the least. But bring us to the point where, as I mentioned, the city's committed $2 million. Our ask initially to the Build Back Better Regional Challenge was $7.25 million. And we were finalists. That regional challenge that's being driven by the Pennsylvania Wilds was a finalist, one of 60. And we received last week a request, or not even a request, it was a directive that came down from the EDA, who went back out to also respond to finalists to say, thou shalt reduce your ask to some number less than $50 million after the direction was given initially where you could have up to 75. So they've made a blanket demand, if you will, that, okay, everybody has to go back to the drawing board and reduce your ask to $50 million maximum. The regional challenge, the Pennsylvania Wilds regional challenge, was initially $73.7 million. So we're looking at pairing out $23 million from the regional project. That was distributed as shown on the one page in the next to last page in the packet we gave you. DCNR was one of the component applications. They agreed immediately to cut their request in half. So that leaves, spread out amongst the other 6 component parts, a reduction of 26%, which reflects $1.885 million that has to come out of the Warren project. The issue with that is obviously all of the elements of this project are interconnected. So it's really difficult to look at and pick which of the elements we want to pull out of the project. There isn't enough fat in any of the element budgets to allow us to just say, well, we have contingency, so we're in good shape, we'll take the 1.8 out of contingency and we'll be good. So we're looking, and continue to look very closely at all of the elements and where we are funding-wise to see what, frankly, where we have the best chance of recovering the monies so that we can keep all of the elements, but perhaps what can we pull out of the Build Back Better application with some level of confidence that we have other funding that can take care of that, or are there other funds that we can secure now relative to commitments that would allow us to keep our project whole by increasing the match that we're able to present to the Build Back Better initiative. So we do have, the city was awarded a $95,000 grant from the Fish and Boat Commission for engineering on the boat launch. And we have, the WCDA is holding $40,000 that was contributed to the original Riverfront, the floating dock project. So we had that $135,000 that would be coming into it, but at the end of the day, we're looking for $1,750,000 in funding from some source or group of sources that would allow us to maintain the integrity of this entire project. So that's the, in timelines, we're required to submit new budgets and new narrative to the PA Wilds by the end of the day. It's noon tomorrow. We've got to extend that to end of business day on Wednesday, but we have a little bit of time to contemplate.
I'm sharpening his pencils.
Yeah.
I was getting the calculator.
We've got 48 hours to make decisions and recraft this the project, figure out what we can extract with some level of confidence that we can get that put back in over the course of the next 2 years coming forward as we work through the project. So that is where we are, and I want to present that current status to the county and answer any questions you have on where we are, where we're going, and hopefully, frankly, get a commitment from the county to help us bridge the gap.
Things that make you go, I don't have any, what's the likelihood of the $50 million getting funded? I mean,
I think we're trying to be as responsible as we can be in terms of evaluating where we stand with that regional challenge stands. It is the only application to the Build Back Better Regional Challenge Initiative countrywide that is in the recreation, outdoor recreation area. So the challenge is you don't know where the evaluators are going to come down on this, and what are the criteria? What are they weighing most heavily? How are they going to choose from 62 to 20? So it's simply a matter that we think we have a very competitive, compelling argument. One of the big issues that the EDA put out there in terms of items that we needed to be aware of and promote and talk to is the equity of funding. And frankly, the inequity of funding to the rural communities in the outdoor recreation area. So we feel we really hit that point exceptionally well. So we think we're more than qualified to receive the funding. But until the decision is rendered, we really don't have any idea. But we have a high degree of confidence that we're going to get funded. But we won't know.
they're not looking, they're not looking to, so it's either all of these projects that are outlined towards the back of your presentation together or not, is that correct?
The actual elements of our project,
Well,
or,
they said we had a $73 million request.
yes,
And then they came back and we said, okay, if we all cut across the board, here's what it would look like. So now we're down to the 49, almost $50 million that their request is. But there would be a situation in which, for example, the Warren Riverfront Development and Recreation Hub would get funded and something else within the application would not. Is that a
Actually,
correct
the
statement?
EDA initially said they reserved the right to either fund the entire regional application as submitted,
Okay,
so they would fund the PA Wilds to $53 million, or they could individually fund any one of the elements that was put out. So there is a chance that they could extract one of these elements and fund it directly and not the rest of them. But the expectation is that the easiest track for them to run on is to fund entire regional applications. But they do have the latitude, they need the EDA, to pull elements out and fund them directly with that sub-applicant. So we could get funded and the rest of the wilds could not. But don't think that that would be, probably not their primary desirable way to do it.
yeah, I'm not familiar with EDA funding, so I don't know.
I don't think EDA is familiar with this particular funding source, so it's different, in the way they're handling it is certainly different than the norm, so.
I think the project in total has a lot of things that are going for it, and I don't have as much direct impact with the Pennsylvania Wilds folks in terms of what their take is, but, and Jim talked a little bit based on, the analysis that's included on page 6, which a lot of the further on down the road, the trickle down economic benefits as calculated by the in-plan, looking at a boost of north of $11 million, is that on an annual basis or an annual basis additional economic activity, within the county that's being generated by this project. So we're very excited about that, and I'm sure that there's other projects that I would hope would have that similar economic analysis done that justifies, why the project makes sense. But just leveraging, the resources that we continually talk about, within our county, the Allegheny National Forest, and the Allegheny River, and this is a great opportunity for us as one of the municipalities within the county to really kind of put that, at the forefront, and, with your help and continued support, I think, that's a huge component to me anyway, that it does have such a positive long-term economic benefit, which addresses a lot of the concerns that we're all collectively trying to get our heads around and come up with viable solutions moving ahead on that. So, that to me is a real reason for optimism in terms of the project.
A couple of thoughts. One is, now that the proposal's put together, like in one grant was put in, that we worked on with Casey's office, I think that sets the stage for a lot of other grant applications associated with this. I think that the Build Back Better grant process is great, but, there's a place for this in USDA, there's a place for this, in a lot of different buckets, I think, that we could go after, and I think that we should circle back around after this meeting to discuss that. And some of those are a lot, I don't want to say more generous than Build Back Better because it's such a competitive setup, but the rural nature of our community and the loss of population and some of these other things actually, I don't want to say plays well in kind of a request to do a redevelopment project like this, but it does. And and then I would also state that I think that the value in this project is shown in the projects that have come before it. So, the Loringer building where, Bent Run, Allegheny Outfitters, go for all of those various businesses that have developed there. That project never would have happened without state funding. Like so for the people to come down there in droves in order to partake of the business community that's grown there, that happened because that property in that space. And so with this, we have what I think is an opportunity at a real long-term investment in a space that is thriving. Like, you know, we're not, it wouldn't be an investment in something that we're rolling the dice on. It's something that's already developed and growing and that the community is very supportive of. So I know for my part, I'm very excited at the prospect of this project, the Riverfront redevelopment project, taking off and going someplace. So I think anything we can do to partner, figure out ways to find funding streams, you know, and whatnot, I think is really important. And I'm glad that you've continued with it, you know, that it hasn't been just kind of a shot in the dark and then, you know, kind of faded into the background like so many good ideas that we've had over the years.
Yeah, and then the challenge becomes as you start tearing this thing apart, the challenge the city's had in moving this from the planning stages to the implementation stages, getting the match dollars. The city's been very good and focused on using the state capital budget monies that they have available in the various groups and finding match dollars when they can and where they can to piecemeal the project. The beauty of the Build Back Better was allowed us to take all of those elements and package them into one, so that in theoretically 2 years, we could have this thing finished and the impact will be huge, as opposed to implementing it on a piece-by-piece basis. And 5 years from now, we're still gonna, well, we got the parking lots done, that looks really nice, but now we have this ward over here that we haven't got done, and eventually we'll get this piece done, and it stretches out to a 5 to 6 to 10 year period, and it just, the impact is obviously stretched out well beyond what it could be. So I agree that there are other funding streams that come together. Our mission right now is locking in as best we can where we are, what we are able to commit to right now as part of the regional challenge, and we need to go back to the PA Wiles by the end of the day on Wednesday and tell them what that is. Is it taking the street renovations out of the project to get down to the $5.385 million piece we have? We have a little bit of money, as I say, we can add to our match now that mitigates some of that, but we just need to figure out what are the elements that we take out, what is actually, what can we get, what commitment can we have in place and in hand by Wednesday midday to then make that final decision moving forward.
And I believe we had already committed $500,000 to this project. Am I correct in that?
I think that needs to be conveyed, like, in a resolution.
Yeah, we've never received a formal commitment
You
of
said
those
you were
funds.
supportive, right?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, verbally, that's been a number that's been presented, but we've not received that formal. So it's not included in any of our match calculations to this point.
So we'd add a resolution to Wednesday's agenda affirming the county's position to
Right.
support $500,000 in funding for the project.
One more.
And I would ask respectfully that if there's room on that number, you know, obviously the need based on keeping the project whole, I think, is around that $1,750,000. You know, if there's further considerations of somewhere north of 500, that would be well received as well. I know you have all kinds of financial obligations, but we do feel very strongly about this project. So just throwing that.
I can't speak obviously for the other two commissioners. I know for myself, if I felt like, I feel pretty confident that the other funding can be found, like in state and federal opportunities. I feel like eventually this project's going to get funded one way or the other. With all the projects that we have to deal with on a regular basis, I'd have a very hard time going above 500, like from my perspective, not without, like I get that the city has put in our cap funding, and I appreciate that. I mean, I think that there are other funding options that we would want to consider that have more weight for the city, I think, if we're going to put more than 500,000, if that makes sense. Like, You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, and here's one other way, just food for thought of if we were to get a commitment for north of the 500, there could always be that those funds could be committed but not released, and we could continue to look for those other sources, but burden the hand, try to replace them moving forward. So it could be a hard commitment for the 500 with the expectation and understanding that we would exhaust all other applications and funding sources. There could be more money committed at this point. To allow us to salvage the entire project moving forward. Understand where we're coming from.
So, yeah, so city allocation of RCAP funds is one of the components, but the city is also making a significant general fund investment as well. So we're really committed to this as well. So
how much is the city's general fund commitment?
it's $500,000.
We also committed 800,000 of our money to the project as well.
Yeah.
We have committed over 800,000 of the city's ARPA money to the project as well.
As well as the 500,000? Or is 800,000 total?
Correct.
800,000 total, okay. All right.
So,
Okay. All right.
The resolution be written out, if something is voted on, 500 would go toward a particular element of the project, just the project in general.
Yeah, I think that just to generally support the project. I mean, I think that there are parts that hypothetically could be shaved off if they absolutely had to be. That's just my opinion. It's not, that said, like, I mean, I think even with that, I mean, you're at, 20% plus cost share of the overall project with 500,000 from us. And I just feel like there are a lot more buckets that can be, gone after for this. I think that if you had 500 from us, 800 from yourself, and on top of the RCAP and everything else, I think that's a very attractive cost share for a larger grant, aside from the Build Back Better. That's just my opinion. I mean, that's how.
where are some of the other buckets that you've seen?
Well, like I said, like USDA, there's multiple infrastructure grants that are available, for projects like this. I mean, and the only reason I know that is because of all of the work that we did on this. For instance, we had to go through, so the last application was for congressionally directed spending, which is similar to which is an earmark, is what they used to call that. In order to apply for that, they give you like a litany of programs that you have to pick from in order to apply to, and then they put it into the next spending bill. In order to understand what those funding streams are, you have to go through research. And so I'm sitting there going, why are we applying for this? Why are we applying for this one? And so my point is that there's probably at least a half dozen federal programs that I think that we could go after for funding for this, in my opinion. That remains to be seen. We have to work on it, And the EDA, I know that you're in the Build Back Better program, but there's nothing to say that we can't apply to the EDA for other grants that they have available. Same with USDA, ARC, everything. This is an economic development project. I don't look at it as just a recreational project, so that really broadens the scope of what you could hypothetically try to go after. And my point being is with all of the infrastructure money that's floating around, like the window to get in and get a project approved is much wider. So I would say that we take the information that Jim and the city administration that we've all put together and worked on, and then just start trying to take as many bites from the apple as we can. Because after the collective funding that we put together, that's a pretty good chunk of the project. I think that, and we're a rural community with now, according to the census, less than 40,000 people. So that makes us an attractive candidate, I think.
Well, thank you for your your time.
Thank
Good to see you
Thank
all. I personally am very excited about the project, and
So just from a process standpoint, there's another meeting on Wednesday.
So
We
Wednesday,
need to,
yeah, Wednesday at noon, we'll have the new commissioners meeting, and there'll be a resolution there for the funding, and certainly we would welcome you to be there to support that.
You don't need another presentation though?
No,
Okay.
I don't think we want any more presentation.
Well, perfect.
I mean, it's a very
It's
nice,
a really good one for Wednesday.
it's a very nice presentation.
Fine.
okay,
all right.
well, thanks again for your
Thank
time.
you.
Thank you for your hard work.
Yes, very much so.
We'll get her there. Thanks.
That's good.
See you later.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for
See
your
you all later.
representation. Thank
Nice
you. Nice
day.
to see you. All right, on to the next item on the work session agenda is the funding support for the library.
Yeah, so, and just so you know, I'm not gonna do the rural roads thing this time around,
Okay.
just because I have a couple more phone calls I have to make on that, but I wanna cross my Ts and dot my Is. So, basically, obviously the library's had a renovation project that's, been over $1.6 million that they've been working on for a while. It's currently underway. They essentially recently found out that the RCAP funding that the city had pledged to them could not be utilized for the project. Basically, I don't know where the miscommunication happened, but they became a sub-donor under the city, or sub-grantee under the city, and once they started getting into the weeds on it, it just was not working. So the library is $100,000 short, and the problem is the project's underway. So it's really hard to get additional grant funding for a project that's already started. So they're kind of in a pinch. So I didn't want to make the effort, I shouldn't say that. I didn't want to, I felt like it was a bit of a stretch to try to get the entire amount for them. And especially since there are other entities they could look to, and that should be a part of the solution. But I thought that given the fact that the library, serves a lot of purposes countywide, and this project has been very supported regionally, the county would contribute $25,000 to the bottom line, the $100,000 shortfall. And that funding, could be former ARPA funds. I would also suggest that it could be savings, like that it could be something, but that we allocate that and then I put that on the resolution for Wednesday.
I'm generally supportive of that. I don't know
Are you still there?
if, yeah.
Yeah, I'll think on it, but I can certainly come up with a decision by Wednesday.
Okay.
All right, sounds good. And then remove the rural roads initiative, nothing on the old items, policies and procedures, doesn't look like there's anything going on. Projects, of course, from my perspective, we're still working on broadband. We were able to secure those funds for Warren County that were along with Crawford County to do some build out there. So I believe we will call at 1 o'clock to talk a little bit about that. And then upcoming commissioner meeting, public hearing, that's May 11th. And consent agenda and announcements there. As I'm looking at the actual agenda itself, we're back on for the county engineering firm. A couple of resolutions listed there for policies and procedures. And we'll look at some depository tax bids. And is there anything else? Approval of agreement with Lakeshore Community Services. Is there anything else that we need to put on the agenda for Wednesday?
to do the two resolutions for the library and the Riverfront. Riverfront was done, but,
We'll get that today, Pam.
okay, because nobody gave me their edits, so I
Oh,
know
I
it's
see.
not done. I
Oh.
just drafted it,
The resolution is drafted.
yes.
Okay.
It exists, it's somewhere.
All right. I'll go through my emails.
Do we want to do the nepotism policy on Wednesday too?
It is on the agenda. Resolution 3211 to approve the GMS policies and procedures.
Okay, thanks.
I still have edits, I'm trying to wait for that, so I'll try to get them to you by noon tomorrow.
All right, department committee updates.
I have a brief cause for an executive session, 5 or 10 minutes.
Okay. And that's Commissioner schedule, I'm here and there all week, in and out meetings. I'll be out of town on Thursday, and I believe there's a Visitors Bureau meeting this Thursday. Yes, we mentioned that we're thinking about all attending that, but it seems like we'll be out of town for that?
No,
Okay.
on Thursday?
Yeah.
I mean, I wasn't planning on going to that meeting, but I guess I will.
I don't know, we talked about going to.
Well, I didn't know when the next meeting
Yeah,
was,
yeah,
so.
we'll figure it out.
Thursday's fine. Thursday, I just wanted to make you aware, Thursday at noon, we're having a special meeting for the redevelopment authority to start to develop the policies and procedures related to the land bank. I just wanted you guys to be aware of that in case you got any questions or if you wanted to attend. Everybody is super excited about that. You can see it on Phil's face. And then the other thing is I want to let you know that I'm meeting with the Talk and Kim Corson on Thursday to discuss like a radio project or tying the transit authority's radio systems in with this StarNet. Yeah.
Okay.
And then, is there anything else? I think that's it.
General discussion is the next item, don't think we have anything there. Okay, then we'll move into executive session.
Well, I've had
Oh,
some
you do
stuff from
have
tax
something.
claims, so
That's great.
very exciting stuff. So the tax collectors made their returns in April. I usually give an update afterwards to let you know the numbers and such. So we're still low on returns for the 2021 taxes. For 2020, the return was at 8.57%. This year is 8.62, and normally it hovers around 10.5.
Oh,
So we're still about 2% lower than normal, which is huge. I did my tax sale notices this month, well, a few days ago actually, and last year we had 1,865 notices. This year we're about 1,600 notices, so we're down about 200 notices there, which is from 2020 that carried over. That's why we're down. So let's see, last year was 1,100 parcels, this year is 958. So we're hoping for a low upset sale this year, probably.
Well, and the idea being again that more people are paying their taxes on time, so that's a good thing.
Yes.
Would this be the upset sale, would that be on the 2019 taxes?
Be for the 2020 taxes.
Okay, yeah. That-
You know,
2022.
the numbers are pretty low the past few years.
which is a good thing.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah. Hopefully we'll be seeing it on the other side with taxes collected.
Yeah. What's that?
Thank you, Phil.
Yep. Go ahead. A little update.
Great,
Very interesting.
appreciate it. All right, anything else for the good of the order?
So,
Yeah.